The champagne flute slipped from my fingers as Dad's words cut through the glittering reception hall. The crystal shattered against the marble floor, silencing the dinner chatter like a gunshot. "Some daughters make you proud," he announced, raising his glass toward my sister in her perfect white dress. "Others just take up space." Laughter rippled through the room, polite, practiced, pleased. I stood frozen at the head table, watching as waitstaff rushed to clean up my mess while guests pretended not to stare. The room tilted slightly as blood rushed to my face. I could taste the metallic tang of humiliation coating my tongue. "Good thing I just got my own place," I managed, my voice steadier than the trembling in my chest. The band's melody faltered. My mother's smile tightened into a grimace. My father's eyes hardened into the familiar look of disappointment, the one I'd spent 27 years trying to erase. "My name is Olivia, I'm 27 and a marketing strategist. This is the story of how I reclaimed my worth by bringing truth into the light. For as long as I could remember, our family operated on a system of emotional debts and repayments. My sister Pamela received unconditional love and forgiveness, while I received contracts and conditions. When I needed help with college tuition after losing my scholarship, Dad didn't hesitate. He printed a formal loan agreement. 10% interest, 1-year repayment term, and a detailed failure to repay clause outlining consequences. He slid a fountain pen across his mahogany desk, the weight of expectation heavier than the pen in my hand. "Just business, Olivia," he said, watching me sign. "Life doesn't give handouts." Meanwhile, Pamela flunked an entire semester, totaled her BMW, and received a new car by Friday. "We all make mistakes," Mom had said, serving celebration cake with Pamela's name piped in buttercream. "No contracts, no interest rates, no questions asked." I repaid every cent of my loan, $36,218, with "as agreed" written in the memo line. Dad never acknowledged the payment. Silence in our family always meant transaction complete. I built a career despite them, securing a junior position at Blake & Amp, Morrison Media. My apartment was small but mine, freedom measured in square feet rather than approval. I maintained obligatory family dinners while secretly tracking job openings across the country. Portland, Denver, Austin. Each city name a promise of oxygen. For months, I'd been documenting everything. Every dismissive comment, every double standard, every financial disparity, all meticulously recorded in a spreadsheet titled Oxygen.xlsx. Column A, date and time. Column B, incident. Column C, witnesses. Column D, emotional impact. Column E, evidence. I hadn't planned revenge. I'd planned escape. But fate had other ideas. 3 weeks after the wedding disaster, Pamela called. Her voice cracked like thin ice. "Richard's gone," she whispered. "He said we rushed it. Said I'm not who he thought I was." I drove across town to help her pack. Her luxury apartment looked half abandoned, moving boxes scattered, wedding gifts still wrapped. The kitchen smelled of panic and burned coffee. "You were right to get out," she said, folding designer dresses she'd never worn. "How did you know they'd never see you?" I didn't answer. Some truths are better demonstrated than explained. When my phone buzzed with Mom's name, I silenced it. Another text landed, "Family is forever. Don't make rash choices." The same honeyed manipulation that had kept me tethered for years. That evening, I opened my laptop for my final interview with Greenleaf Agency in Portland. 3 faces in neatly arranged digital squares greeted me with professional warmth. "Where do you see yourself in 5 years?" they asked. I exhaled slowly. "Somewhere I don't have to apologize for existing." Their approving nods felt like open windows. For once, silence wasn't judgment, it was space. When the call ended, my phone erupted with notifications. 5 missed calls from Mom. 3 from Dad. 1 text from Pamela, "Don't come home." They found everything. My chest tightened as I called Pamela back immediately. "Mom went through your laptop when you were downstairs," she whispered. "Said she was checking your battery health. She found your spreadsheet, your city list, everything. Dad's furious, says you're plotting to humiliate them." The violation burned like acid. Years of privacy invasions flashed through my mind, diaries read, messages scanned, drawers searched. Always under the guise of parental concern. "They want you to come home for a family discussion," Pamela continued, her voice dropping lower. "Dad's pacing. Doors are slamming. Olivia, don't come. The line went quiet except for our synchronized breathing, two women finally acknowledging the fire they'd been standing in. At 4:07 p.m., an email arrived. Subject: Offer, Senior Content Strategist, Portland Office. I read it 3 times, hands trembling. Full salary, remote onboarding, comprehensive benefits, everything they'd always taught me was reserved for people more deserving than myself. I forwarded it to 2 separate personal emails as backup. Then I called James, my boyfriend of 2 years. I got the job, I said when he answered. His immediate congratulations warmed me, until he hesitated. Your mom called me this morning, he said carefully. She what? Said she's worried about you. Mentioned Portland. The victory suddenly felt bruised. Of course she'd call him, another boundary crossed, another attempt to control the narrative. I set my phone down, staring at my half-packed suitcase across the room. I'd planned to leave quietly, to slip away like smoke. But they'd found my exit strategy and were already working to dismantle it. That's when the realization crystallized: leaving secretly wasn't enough. They would rewrite my absence into abandonment, my independence into ingratitude. They would control the story unless I changed it first. That night, I moved with methodical precision. I backed up every document, secured every account, changed every password. Then I opened the Oxygen spreadsheet and began a new task. I exported selected entries into a document titled FamilyPatterns.pdf. I included financial records showing the disparate treatment between Pamela and me. Bank statements proving I'd repaid my loan while Pamela received gifts totaling 6 figures. Screenshots of text messages showing the manipulation, the gaslighting, the subtle cruelty disguised as concern. I worked until dawn, compiling irrefutable evidence of years of emotional inequality. This wasn't about punishment, it was about truth. Pamela knocked on my door at 6:30 a.m., eyes red but resolute. They think you're sleeping, she whispered. You shouldn't be here. I needed to see you before I go, she admitted. They are angry because they don't control your story anymore. She pressed something into my hand, a folded note. Open it after you leave. When she left, I finished my preparations. By 7 a.m., my bags were packed, my accounts secured, and my new document was ready. Rather than sneaking away, I walked into the dining room where my parents sat having breakfast. Mom's face registered shock, then calculation. Dad's jaw tightened. So you're running away, he said, voice dripping with disappointment. After everything we've done for you. I placed my laptop on the table and opened the document. I'm not running, I said quietly. I'm choosing a different story. I turned the screen toward them. This is a record of every loan, every gift, every opportunity provided to Pamela without condition, alongside every contract, every interest payment, every condition placed on me. Mom's face drained of color. Dad started to speak, but I continued. I've accepted a position in Portland. I leave today. This document has been scheduled to send to our entire family, including Grandma Eleanor and Uncle Robert, in 24 hours. Dad's expression hardened. You wouldn't dare. I'm not asking for apologies or explanations, I said, my voice steadier than I'd ever heard it. I'm offering a choice. Acknowledge the pattern privately to me, and this stays between us. Deny it, and everyone will see exactly what this family values. The silence that followed felt different from any silence before it. It wasn't empty. It was filled with truth finally acknowledged. Mom spoke first, her voice small. We never meant to. You did, I interrupted gently. And you both know it. I closed the laptop. I've emailed you both a copy. You have until tomorrow to decide what happens next. I picked up my suitcase, feeling lighter than I had in years. Pamela knows she's welcome to visit me anytime. I hope someday you both will too, as people who see me, not as parents who own me. I walked out without waiting for their response. Their voices followed me, Mom's rising in distress, Dad's dropping to a dangerous whisper. I didn't turn back. At the airport, I finally opened Pamela's note. Olivia, if you're reading this, you did it. I'm proud. Don't worry about me. I'm finding my own exit. Love always. I folded it carefully and tucked it into my journal. The boarding call echoed through the terminal as I stood, feeling a strange new lightness in my chest. 3 weeks later, the email came. No subject line, just my father's corporate signature. The message contained only 2 sentences: "We've reviewed your documentation. Your points are acknowledged." It wasn't an apology. It wasn't even warm. But it was something I'd never had before: recognition. That evening, Pamela called to tell me she'd accepted a job in Chicago. "I wouldn't have done it if I hadn't watched you first," she said. Leaving isn't betrayal. It's how we stop pretending. I smiled at her words, the truth of them settling into my bones. Portland smelled like rain and possibility. My apartment was small, scratched hardwood, temperamental heating, a view of a brick wall, but it was mine. The silence here didn't demand performance. It simply existed, like the space I finally allowed myself to occupy. That night, I opened my window to let in the cool evening air. A train whistle sounded somewhere in the distance. Once, that sound would have represented escape. Now, it simply meant life continuing forward. I brewed coffee and watched the city lights below. No fanfare, no audience, just the quiet certainty that I had finally claimed my own story. Freedom doesn't announce itself with trumpets. It simply sits beside you, waiting to be noticed. And I finally did.